Ladies and gentlemen, now we are about to start our discussion. I'm Noxolam Dende. We are having a panel, and our theme is Law and Religion, a country perspective from Namibia and Nigeria. So I'm going to ask the panelists to use 11 or 12 minutes, between 11 and 12, because we started late, so that we can allow for questions. Now our first speaker is John Baloro. Baloro. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Okay. Is it any better?
I think maybe there's a button, John. Oh, I found it out yesterday somewhere.
Or can you use this one?
Yeah, all right. Yeah, this is fine. Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. You have pronounced my surname very well, but which means they, like in Xhosa or Zulu.
Oh.
Yes, it's the same thing. There was a slight change in my topic, which is it's a change from what appears on the program, just a slight change. It says separation of church and state in Africa. A colleague during the last session, a colleague sitting nearby next to me challenged. He said it's Americanism, but anyway, that is. I think for now we will go by that. Separation of church and state in Africa, formalism versus reality, learning learning from the true story contained in Robert Bowles' A Man for All Seasons. The font is the font. Okay. Yeah, all right. Yeah, thank you very much. The book, A Man for All Seasons, is a book I studied many years ago at A-levels in one of the best schools in Ghana. And it's actually a play, a drama, about the life and tragic end of Sir Thomas More, who was the first Catholic Attorney General at the time of Henry VIII. And it goes back to the problems of the close relationship between the state and the Catholic Church at the time. And it's a long story with many strands, with many lessons. And for the purposes of this presentation, what I want to explain to you is that at that time, Henry VIII was having trouble in having a male heir to the throne, and that led him to have a number of divorces, and eventually he wanted to marry to divorce, have the third or fourth divorce, and marry again, but he wanted to do so with the blessing of the papacy. And the representative, he wanted to make use of Sir Thomas More, who was his Attorney General and a close associate, and who was also a well-known official in the Catholic Church, to assist him to secure this papal blessing. And Sir Thomas refused, and eventually he was tried, found guilty, and sentenced to death. And subsequently, he became Saint Thomas More in the Catholic Church. And I just thought that the issue of separation or lack of separation of the state and the church here is used very broadly. In other words, it could be any form of religion, the Islamic religion, traditional African religion. I think that would satisfy Madam Chairperson. That there are dangers, just as there can be benefits, provided that that relationship is handled properly. And so what I have decided to do, what I now this is giving me problems. Where is the
enter or space bar? Enter.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. Yes. I was reminded of A Man for All Seasons and the story of Sir Thomas More by a very eminent lady whom I listened to last year during the All Africa Law Deans Forum, which was held in Kenya, hosted by Strathmore University. The keynote speaker was Baroness Scotland, Patricia Scotland, and she is a very distinguished lady, lawyer in the UK. She's held a lot of leading positions, and one of them was the Attorney General in the United Kingdom, I think under Blair, Tony Blair. And in the introduction of herself, she pointed out that she was the second Attorney General, Catholic Attorney General in the United Kingdom, over 500 years after Sir Thomas More held it. And then she quit. She said that, well, you all know what happened to Sir Thomas More. Of course, he was executed due to the reasons that I gave. And that is, so I decided to link this story that she gave us to my presentation. So essentially, the presentation looks at 3 countries in terms of the so-called separation of church and state, namely Namibia, the Republic of Namibia, the Republic of South Africa, and the Republic of Ghana, where I come from. And I take 3 areas. First of all, the usual areas of the Bill of Rights. The right to non-discrimination, protection against non-discrimination on the basis of religion, creed, conscience, etc., etc. And in all of the 3 constitutions, this is amply provided for. Oh, 5 minutes. All right. Then it's amply provided for at the formal constitutional level. In the area of the Bill of Rights relating to a very important right, which is the right to practice any religion of one's choice. Again, all the constitutions have this provision. And in fact, in certain cases, it looks as if the drafters actually did a lot of research and copied from each other, especially the Ghanaian constitution, which was drafted in 1992 after the adoption of the Namibian constitution. Because some of the provisions, they are simply lifting from the Namibian constitution. The third area, and that's the most interesting area that the paper looks at, is the explicit pronouncement, constitutional pronouncement on the relationship between the state and church, organized religion, represented by the church or by the mosque, etc. In the two constitutions, namely South Africa and Ghana, there is silence. The constitutional provisions do not mention what the nature of the relationship should be. It is only the Namibian constitution which is very explicit and takes a stand, which is that it says, mentions in the preamble and then in Article 1 that the Republic of Namibia is hereby established as a sovereign, secular, democratic, and unitary state, founded upon the principles of democracy, the rule of law, and justice for all. This is what is stated at the formal level. But this is absent in the other two constitutions. And the essence of the paper is really to point out that in the practice, from what I have observed and read, materials that I've read, in the Republic of Namibia, despite this formal position, statement of the country as a secular, of course, secularity is not defined, but I think it is understood, it is assumed that, in other words, Namibia, much as it provides, it protects the right of everybody. It says everyone in the country has the right to practice any religion of his choice. But there is no dominance, there is no domination of state by a particular religion. There is no supposed to be a favoritism by the state of a particular religion. Then I point out, first of all, that in practice, this is not so. In the country, you will find out that the favored religion, as demonstrated publicly in public observances during state gatherings, state activities, is Christianity. And this is, of course, in my view, at the expense of other religions, such as, for example, traditional African religion, such as Islam. And you will see this in public gatherings, such as, for example, the recent presidential inauguration in the country. It is common practice to have all such occasions begun with Christian prayers and also ended with such prayers. And this has speculated down to many state institutions, ministries, public corporations, our own institution, the university. Often when we have the opening of the university, thank you very much, this is the case. However, as compared to the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, where there is silence on the secularity of the Republic of South Africa, the opposite is the case. There is a very strenuous effort made by the South African state to accommodate and respect all religions. And this can be seen during public observances, state occasions, etc. And the paper, Ghana is a mixture, though I would also say the African traditional practices do not receive the same amount of prominence as Christian religious practices. So I conclude by saying that it will be worthwhile for the two other countries to emulate both the constitutional and to emulate the standards of practice and implementation contained, which is seen in the Republic of South Africa. Despite the fact that in South Africa there is no express or explicit provision for the formal separation of the state and the church. Yes, essentially that's the knot of my paper. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Sorry
Yes.
if
I understand.
oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
Our next speaker is Ahmed Gapa.
Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you.